We will write a C++ program to implement Q using array. The objective of this program is to implement Q using array. The operating system used is Windows 7 32-bit. The software used to write the program is C++ compiler Turbo C++. Some common instructions while using compiler IDE are: always press the Enter key to go to a new line. To compile the program, press Alt and F9, and to run the program, press Ctrl and F9. While we open the C++ compiler, we get a blank file by default to type in the program. To get the new page, select the File option in the menu and select New. To save the file with the name, press F2 and type in the required file name. Let us start writing the program to implement Q using array. We know that Q is an abstract data type or a linear data structure in which the first element is inserted from one end called rear, also called tail, and the deletion of existing element takes place from the other end called as front, also called head. This makes Q as FIFO data structure, which means that the element inserted first will also be removed first. And an array is used to store a collection of data. However, it is often more useful to think of an array as a collection of variables of the same type. All arrays consist of contiguous memory locations. The lowest address corresponds to the first element and the highest address to the last element. First, we type the preprocessor command iostream.h. This command is an object-oriented library that provides input and output functionality using streams. Next, we type the command which declares the library for console input or output functions. Next, we type the command which declares the standard library functions. Now we will create a class named as Q. Class is a user-defined data type which holds its own data members and member functions, which can be accessed and used by creating instance of that class. Then, we define the access specifier as public. The data members and member functions which are declared as public can be accessed by other classes too. Within this class, we declare various integer variables Q5, front, rear, X, and result. Then we define the enqueue function to add elements into the queue. Similarly, we define dequeue function to delete elements from the queue and display function to display elements of the queue. Here, we define constructor named Q. Constructor is a special member function of a class that is executed whenever we create new objects of that class. A constructor will have exact same name as the class and it does not have any return type including void. Constructors can be very useful for setting initial values for certain member variables. Within the constructor variables, front and rear are initialized to 0. It says that initially Q is empty. Then we begin with the insertion. Elements can be inserted from only one end called rear. Here, enqueue function is used to insert new elements into the queue. Next, we use if statement to check whether the value of rear is greater than or equal to the maximum size of the queue, that is 5. Now, we use the cout statement to display the message or the instruction to the user. The message is queue overflow. If the condition is not satisfied, we use the cout function to display the instruction to the user. The instruction is, enter the number to be inserted. Once the instruction is displayed, user can enter the number. To read the number entered by the user, we need to use the cn function. The number entered by the user will be stored in the variable x. Then, the rear value is incremented by 1. As we add elements to the queue, the rear needs to be incremented by 1, always pointing to the position where the next element to be inserted. Then, the value of x is assigned to the array q at the location pointed by rear. Next, cout function is used to display the number inserted into the queue. Then, we use dequeue function to delete an element from the queue. Deletion of existing element takes place from the other end called as front. Within this function, if condition is used to check whether the value of rear is equal to 0, that is, initially front and rear of the queue points at the first index of the array. If the condition is satisfied, then we use cout function to display the message queue underflow. In case the condition is not satisfied, that is, if queue is not empty, then again if statement is used to check the values of front and rear are equal. If this condition is satisfied, then value 0 is assigned to both front and rear. Which means if there is single element in the queue and front and rear are pointing to the same element, then after deleting that element, front and rear are points to the first index of the array. If the condition is not satisfied, that is, queue contains more than one element, then value of front is incremented by 1 to point to the next element. Next, we assign the deleted element to the variable result. Then, we use display function to display elements of the queue. Within this function, we use if statement to check the value of rear is equal to 0. If this condition is satisfied, then we use the cout function to display message to the user. The message is queue underflow. In case if this condition is not satisfied, statements under else condition will be executed. In else condition, we use cout function to display output message, contents of queue. Here, we initiate for loop that will loop from front to rear using I as the variable. Then we use cout function to display elements one by one. Then we type the main function. The execution of any program starts with the main function. Within this function, we declare integer variable c. Next, we create object QU of class Q. Then, we use clearScreen function to clear the output screen. Then, we use do-while loop where statements within the do loop will be executed again only if the while condition is satisfied. Inside do loop, we use cout function to display the menu. The menu items are 1. Insertion, 2. Deletion, 3. Display, and 4. Exit. Again, we use the cout function to display instruction to the user. The instruction is enter your choice. Once the instruction is displayed, user can enter the choice. The cin function is used to read the value entered by the user and assigns it to the variable c. Moving further, the next statement that we use is the switch case statement. We use switch condition to switch to the valid case and skip the invalid cases. For example, if we opt for option 1, instructions under case 1 will be executed. That is, it calls the enqueue function using an object QU. Next break is used to terminate the switch statement and control jumps to the next line following the switch statement. If we opt for option 2, control will be transferred to case 2 wherein dequeue operation will be performed. Similarly, we code case 3 to display elements of the queue. We code case 4 to perform exit, that is, program will be terminated. Along with these cases, switch case statement has default option. This option is used in case we type a number which is not in the menu. Then, control will be transferred to default and the program will print, "Sorry, your answer is incorrect. Please enter correct choice from 1 to 4 on the screen." At the end, we write while condition, that is, user input must be 1 to 4. If this condition is not satisfied, statements inside do loop will not be executed. We end the program with getCH function. This command will keep the output on screen and hold the program from progressing further. This completes the program. Now, we will press F2 key or using cursor, select File menu, then select Save to save the program. After saving, the program needs to be compiled to check whether there are any errors in the program. To compile the program, we press Alt and F9. To run the program, we select Run from the menu or press Ctrl and F9. When we run the program, a prompt will appear displaying various queue operations and an instruction to enter the choice. Initially, we enter choice 2, that is, to delete element from the queue. Initially, the queue is empty and it will display information to the user as queue underflow. Then, we enter choice 3, that is to display elements of the queue. As there are no elements in the queue, it will display queue underflow. Next, we enter choice as 1, that is insertion operation. Here the prompt will appear to enter the element to be inserted into the queue. Here we have entered 10. Similarly, the element 20, 30 are also inserted into queue. Then the element 40 gets inserted into queue. Then we enter choice as 3 to display the elements of the queue. It displays elements of queue 10, 20, 30 and 40. Then we enter choices 2, that is to delete elements from the queue. Here the initially inserted element 10 will be deleted first. Again, we enter choices 3 to display the queue elements. It displays elements of queue 20, 30 and 40. Element 10 gets deleted.